Welcome to Creativity, the podcast where art and engineering collide. My name is Max Maker, and this is my co-host, Jeremy S. Cook.
Hi guys. Today we've got a really special guest named Becky Stern. She makes all kinds of things and currently works at Instructables. So Becky, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself for those that might not be familiar?
Oh, sure. My name is Becky Stern. I'm the community product manager at Instructables, but I'm also a content creator. So you might have seen some of my tutorials on the internet, either on Instructables or at Adafruit or for Make magazine. So I've been working in media around making things since I dropped out of grad school in 2007, 2008.
So how is an average day like as a community product manager at Instructables? What do you actually do there?
I do a lot of communications within the teams and deciding what features and improvements we're going to work on next. And honestly, a lot of bug reporting too, but translating between what the community and users of the site actually expect the site to do and make sure that we're actually building those things.
Okay.
I guess produce content. Yeah.
We want more prizes for the contest.
You want more prizes? Okay, great. Yeah, we would love your suggestions for prizes. Anything you want, let us know.
Well, I have plenty of t-shirts now.
Oh, great. Well, we just rolled out mugs. So if you win...
I've got a stainless steel mug.
We have a new ceramic mug that just came out. So if you... for those who do have lots of t-shirts, like this next couple batches of contests, you'll get mugs instead of t-shirts. And they're nice. You can see it on my Instagram, the new ceramic mug with the tool logo, and it's got Instructables on one side and Autodesk on the other.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
We always take part.
Yeah,
if there's a good category. Right
on, yeah. And we love anyone's suggestions for prizes. But I also create content for the site. When I was hired in 2016, it was as a content creator. So I made... a couple of the classes we have at instructables.com/classes, including for Arduino, knitting, jewelry making, Internet of Things, and solar power. Yeah. So, and that's just a couple we have them in all different categories: machine sewing, woodworking, large motors, robotics, home cooking, all kinds of different maker skills. And so that's a big project I was involved with on the site that helps sort of connect, because Instructables is a community site. So people post all kinds of tutorials, but say if I want to post an embroidery project, but I don't want to teach someone square one of embroidering, I can just link over to my colleague Jesse's hand embroidery class. And that's keeps people, gets people the information they need to execute on the projects they're inspired by.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, just seeing some of your content and stuff, it seems like you're a very versatile maker. I mean, you make pretty much everything from IoT stuff to sewing to everything.
Plywood cabinets.
Yeah, you can't stop me. You can't. There's no craft I won't try.
I just saw a video of you today where you made a plywood cabinet in your own apartment in New York.
Well, the apartments these days don't come with enough closets.
And how did you manage with the dust?
So my studio room that I'm sitting in right now has my computer, but I have a dust shroud I can pull over my whole computer to keep dust out of the fan. And then the shop goes into woodworking mode, and it has a door. So I just do all the woodworking in the single room with the dust extractor on. I don't have a wall unit. I just have one of those little Festool dust extractors. Wow. I wear PPE, so I'm wearing a dust mask. I open the window when I can, but it's middle of winter right now. So we just sort of kept the dust in one room, and when we were done sanding for the day, we would leave, close the door, let the dust settle, come and vacuum, and so we would just adjust kind of when we were in the space, make sure we were wearing protective equipment, and then that way not too much dust got into the rest of the apartment. You'd be surprised when you actually try. But yeah, the single room does I don't try to dust regularly anymore because it just had sawdust. But I got to say, that's a big project we did, and it did take a couple weekends. The reason it took so long is because there were only certain times is this weekend going to be the weekend I turn the shop into woodworking mode, which involves, making sure everything's tidy and away and that I don't want to get covered in dust. So it did make it take a fair bit longer than it would have if we had dedicated workshop space.
So you say that. So you live in New York somewhere. Which borough do you live in exactly?
I live in Brooklyn.
Okay, so I assume your apartment's quite quite small, right? Not to insult it, but that's just the way it is. Perfect.
As far as living spaces go in the U.S., my space is smaller than your average American home, but I'm fortunate enough to live with a partner. We call ourselves dual income, no kids. So
Right.
we have a fair bit more space than some.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear.
And if you want to move to New York, she made a whole video about moving there with tips and tricks.
Yeah, in my more than a decade of experience moving very frequently, you learn what's great and what's not so great.
Why did you move so often?
Well, in college, it's because it was, the college year cycle where I'd move into a different dorm or I'd move away for the summer and then come back. But a lot of times it was because the apartment ended up sucking, or the landlord was doing something you don't like, or I also got Hurricane Sandied out of one apartment. It's just, or living with partners. Then I moved away to grad school. Then it's like when you don't find a place that you really like, you move a lot until you find a place you really like. So later on in my time in New York, I started staying in a place, 3.5 years, and then 5 years. And then I just moved about a year and change ago. And I hope to make it longer than 5 years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that because I made all these mistakes about what landlord to pick. And also your needs change based on where you live and how much money you make.
Yeah, I really like my parents' place.
Yeah, no,
I like my parents' place too, but I wouldn't want to stay there all the time.
Yeah, speaking of that, I looked, I was looking on your bio and stuff. You're from Florida originally. Is that correct?
I was born in Florida, but my parents moved when I was 8 months old to Connecticut, so I was raised primarily in Connecticut.
So that's smart. You don't claim Florida. I don't blame you.
So. Wikipedia says Florida because that's physically where I was born, and my brother and sister remember going to elementary school there, but I don't remember anything about it. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm from the Tampa Bay area, so I thought I'd.
Oh, cool.
Thought I'd mention.
They lived around Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, very very neat. So
what was in Connecticut that wasn't in Florida?
Yeah, that's a good question. Without being disparaging to Florida, in the U.S., we like to joke. Florida is the brunt of a lot of jokes. So I would say to make the obvious joke would be like, what isn't? But the practical answer is that my dad got a better job at a newspaper in Connecticut. My dad was a lifelong newspaper editor. So he got a job at the Hartford Courant, and he worked there from when we moved there when I was 8 months old to when he retired just a few years ago. So.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, we do
a good job at a newspaper.
We do take the fair share of jokes here, so that's okay. But on the other hand, my wife took the kids to the beach yesterday, so I guess there is that.
And did you have time to go to the workshop because of that?
Because you were because of what? Your geography?
Oh, no, because the wife and kids were away at the beach, I guess.
Oh, because you were relieved of family duties.
Right. No, I think I had to work on some writing stuff. I've been pretty busy with actual work these days. That's a good and a bad thing, I guess. It sounds like you're pretty busy with your other business too.
Oh yeah,
Max.
I'm building and building and building because I make draw slides for caravans, and now is the season for everybody to get ready for the summer. And in late August, we have this caravan show where people order their caravans, and now they're rolling out of the factory. So everybody wants their products now. So yeah, I'm just working on that, and I can't work on all my other YouTube and Maker projects, unfortunately. And hopefully in a few weeks they'll be over and I've got more time.
Sure.
That kind of brings us to the section of what have you been working on this week, Becky?
Well, I just got back from a business trip. The Instructables team was doing some planning meetings in Palm Springs. So now that I'm recovered from that, the trip itself was really good. The travel was kind of stinky because it's February and air travel. But I've been trying to finish this video and tutorial about this embroidery project that I made. And it's taking a long time because of various delays. I finished the project itself months ago. It was a wedding gift for a close friend of mine where I took his wedding portraits and made like an embroidered portrait of him and his wife. and it's real sweet and dainty and small and involves a lot of French knots for her curly hair. And it's adorable, but I've been hemming and hawing about like how I want the video to be, and also just I have to be in the right mood to sit down and edit, and I haven't been in that mood lately, and I've been busy traveling. So working on it is like a stretch. I've been thinking about working on it, and I'm pretty sure I'll finish it this weekend. So by the time you publish your podcast, it hopefully will be the thing people see when they like come to my page. They'll be like, "Oh, it's out."
Nice. Yeah, we usually publish these podcasts within a couple hours of recording them, right, Max?
Oh, well, then
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
okay. Then you'll see it soon. Subscribe to my channel, and it'll be the next thing that comes out.
No, I work entirely. Getting it maybe might take a little longer than that, but
yeah.
What about
How
you,
about
Max?
you? What are you working on? Yeah.
You know, besides your cabinets, anything else going on?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I was traveling a lot we've got this building site still. That's a lot of work right now. And I couldn't really finish a lot. You know, I built this belt sander a few weeks ago, just like on 2 afternoons. And I had all these parts left over, and I had them for years. And I always said, oh, this is perfect for when I build this belt sander. And now it's finished. And the first time I was really using it, I burned out one of the coils because the start capacitor of that motor didn't disengage. It smelled really horrible. And I just took it and dumped it in the garden. And I'm going to throw it away entirely because without the motor, everything is based around the motor. All the other stuff that I added to it doesn't make any sense. So that was a complete failure. Because, the motor is the base of this machine, so it was just a waste of time, waste of a project.
Oh, it's a shame. Well, only up from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will just auction one from some insolvent company. We have these auctions in Germany, and hopefully I get one there.
You know,
Where in Germany do you live?
Near Hamburg, north of Germany.
Oh, that's right. No, I remember listening to a previous episode and actually finding out that you're from Lübeck, but you say you're from Hamburg because it's more recognizable and people don't know where Lübeck is. But you know what? One of my favorite candies is marzipan. And my sister went to school in Hamburg for grad school, and then she lived in Kiel for a couple years. So when I would go visit her, we would go up and visit her, and we took the train to Lübeck because it's a less podunk town than Kiel, and we would get the marzipan. So I've been there, and it's delicious.
I had some yesterday.
Nice.
For those that don't know, marzipan is like crushed elements with, like an element paste with chocolate around. Yeah,
it's almond and sugar paste, and then often shrouded in chocolate and sometimes flavored different.
Yeah. Well, that's a real big coincidence that you know my hometown.
Well, they claim to have invented marzipan, and any self-respecting marzipan fan knows where they claim to have invented marzipan.
Yeah, I guess. But...
I've never made it. Anyway, Jeremy, what have you been working on this week?
So I guess, like I said, I've been pretty busy with, work. But it kind of the thing I've been working on. I made this button launcher for like promotional buttons and stuff. So you like the things that you stick in your shirt, a backpack, or whatever. Well, as it just so happened, I went to an engineering show, a USF engineering show, and it ended up breaking. Some kids kept pushing it, which is great. But the cool thing is, everything was 3D printed. The slide was just 3D printed, so I just kind of redesigned it and printed another one up. So that's kind of what I've been working on right now. I guess longer term, I've got a multi-zone clock I'm trying to work on with which uses servos to turn everything around. My only concern with this is I'm thinking it might get kind of hot after a while, so I gotta really figure things out. So we, like Max or you, even Becky, it's just seems like everything's in a state of almost done, kind of working on, thinking about, you know what I mean?
Well, it's that last like 15% takes like 85% of the time.
Oh yeah.
That's usually my experience of a project.
Because, it's not just like it takes that much time, but it's also, I just feel like the start of it, you're so excited, but then like that last, like you said, like that last 15%, you're not quite as excited, but it's that percent. It's like you just got to get it done so you can put a video out or whatever and actually have something to show for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's my feeling on it.
So why do you think the servos would overheat?
Well, I guess part of the reason was I was kind of limited in my I/O from my. Well, no, you know what? Thinking about it now, because I haven't worked on it in a couple weeks. Anyway, I made another servo-based design. This thing that you disparagingly call a Roomba, that uses servos in the bottom, and I noticed that was just way overheating. Uses the same sort of servos. Some not servos, steppers. So I'm thinking maybe steppers. Was I saying servos? Anyway,
servos. Yes.
I was wondering also what is with your servos overheating, but steppers overheating.
But with steppers you could just disable them in between.
Yeah. So it's your code. Your code is overheating them.
That's true. That's true. It's I don't know, just a few things I need to rethink on it. And other thing with that is that clock it uses the easy driver boards, easy stepper boards. And the thing is, it seems to be when it goes from disabled to enabled, the steppers jump around just a little bit. So for a clock, this obviously isn't going to might be a problem. So anyway, just a few things I have to think about before it's probably entirely done. But
I had a lot of issues with A4988, these stepper drivers, because I still don't know what it was. But in a number of projects, I had the same issue that they sometimes were unresponsive, or there was some jittering and stuff like that. And I think that was just because of the breadboard connection, that somehow I had some loose wires in the breadboard. So now I started to use the RAMS 1.4, which is like the standard board that everybody uses in their 3D printers. And the nice thing about that is it comes with plug and play capability of up to 5 servos and a display and a button. So there's everything there that you need for a typical project without having to do any soldering.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe I'll have to switch things around a little bit. I'm to the point where I feel like I need to just go ahead and try it and see if it works. But that's really not a bad idea. Probably would have saved me a little bit of money along the way too. So
it's hard to know. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of students who get really frustrated with stepper motor projects because there's a lot of unknowns about what they're trying.
Yeah, that's true. And then you've got the micro stepping. What is it? You've got micro stepping. So it's
just micro, a quarter, half, an eighth.
Right. There's a lot of stuff to know. It is funny, I do technical writing, kind of, just about people's projects and stuff. And a lot of the time it's just, I'm researching. And even for personal projects. And I just think, at some point I'm going to, at some point you would think I would have learned everything, but it's just, every day it's just like, there's more and more stuff to learn about everything. And I guess it's both the exciting thing and the frustrating thing. You just wonder if everybody else is somehow gets it, and you're the one that's struggling. But I think that's just the natural state of things.
Yeah, it's natural to think that your suffering is unique, but actually, statistically, it's got to be really common, right? I think that's what makes me good at looking in forums, because I'm like, someone has had to have this problem before.
Yeah, well, that's
has to be.
That's perfect for your job, I guess. I mean, you're pretty much the overseer of that kind of thing at Instructables, right? That's kind of your purview. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Sure. I mean, yeah, no, I wear a lot of hats. I'm not sure exactly what job responsibilities you're referring to, but it's true that I am a permanent enthusiastic novice.
Right.
Well, what I was wondering about your project, some of your electronics projects, I didn't see you use a lot of Arduino. It was always some other kind of board. Why is that?
I'm using Arduino compatibles. I mean, I rarely use anything, like I'm always coding in Arduino. So whatever boards you saw, we're running Arduino code. I very rarely will do like a Raspberry Pi project or a project that involves programming that's not Arduino. But I will use, I worked at Adafruit for 4 years, and I'm very familiar with their product catalog and have a lot of their hardware. And they make the best small embeddable boards with LiPoly recharging right now, right? Like you want an ESP8266, but you want LiPoly rechargeable, great. Use the Feather ESP8266, Feather Huzzah, or the Feather Huzzah ESP32 or whatever. So, or the Node MCU. So I'm a big fan of Arduino, official Arduino, and I've heard their MKR boards are really nice. I just haven't had a chance to try them because I have too many spare, Adafruit boards sitting around. But yeah, I primarily code in Arduino.
Am I missing out on using only Arduinos?
I'm not sure. You're in Europe, so they're manufactured in Europe.
Well, mine are from China.
Yeah, I'm confused by what you mean by Arduino then, if you're talking about yours being manufactured in China, because official Arduinos are manufactured in Italy.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the knockoffs, I use Arduino Micros or Unos or the Mega. And for official projects, I use the real deal. It costs like, I don't know, 20 to 40 euros. And for troubleshooting and setting up projects, I use the cheap knockoffs because I often, burn one and fry them. So
yeah, sure. So I mean, so we're on the same page. Like I use largely Arduino. I guess your question was about the programming, right? It was about using the Arduino environment.
No, it was about the boards. There are some other boards like the I can't come up with the names, but they kind of look like they're Arduinos, but they're not really Arduinos. They have different names entirely, but they have kind of the same pins.
Are you talking about boards I use or boards that you've seen?
Yeah, the boards you like. For example, this thing you did in your XP. There was
the XP radio project. Okay, that's an outlier for sure because that didn't involve any programming at all. Actually, the Arduino programming involved, like the XP part of it. There was no XP. There was removing an XP and using the XP power supply as a power supply for an Arduino compatible board. So I was playing a prank on a neighbor. A really, really unpleasant neighbor, and at my last apartment building, and the building had these XP repeaters in all of the like trash chute rooms, and it was to mesh together the smart radiator cover. So if you look at my YouTube channel a while ago, and you look for the smart radiator cover video, you'll see this. I made this video about this thing and this company that put radiator covers in my apartment building and a couple of other pilots. They started out as a pilot program and then expanded to other buildings. It's like a steam heat retrofit technology, and it's actually really cool. It saves the building's heating oil costs by up to, I don't know, like 30% or something. Wow. By covering the radiators. And they have a little temperature sensor, optical temperature sensor that faces the room, a little fan, and a microcontroller running that stuff, and an XB radio to mesh with all the other radiator covers down to the basement where the boiler is, and it'll control the boiler. So if you live in an old city, you'll know that steam heat is like, it's not very efficient. If it's hot in my apartment, it might not be hot in the apartment like up at the top floor, so they have to keep cranking the heat up until the last person stops complaining, which means that people often have to open their windows. I know it's a very roundabout story to get to the point that my building had these XB repeaters all over it, and I knew a lot about how the system worked because of the additional investigative reporting I did on once they started putting them in my building. And so I look in the trash chute, and I was writing this Internet of Things class for instructables using the ESP8266 as its platform.
That's the one.
Arduino compatible. Yeah, that's
not an Arduino. That's something different, but it does the same thing.
Correct. It is a microcontroller capable of running Arduino code that has a built-in wireless radio in it.
Oh, that's all it is. It's an Arduino with a radio in.
Yeah. But you can run, the ESP8266 can also run alternative firmware. So you can write in a coding scripting language called Lua on the ESP8266 as well. So it, just like the M0 or whatever can run Python or Arduino, like the ESP8266 is not bound to Arduino, but that's how I use it.
Okay, so next time, instead of using an Arduino and this little Wi-Fi remote, I just buy that thing, and it's all integrated. Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't need wireless charge, or if you don't need LiPoly charging, you can get the board called the Node MCU, and they're like $10 for two, and shipped straight from China or whatever, and you'll get they're a dime a dozen. But if you want the LiPoly charging, like I really recommend the Adafruit Feather Huzzah, which is a bit pricier, but it's really great for like leaving embedded in a project. Anyway, so I didn't need the battery recharging for this project. I just found this repeater in my trash chute room that all it is like a DC or AC to DC power supply that's powering an XB radio. And all the XP radio is doing is trying to help the signal get like around the corners of the building and down to the basement, right? Because not every single person would allow the people to come and install these radiator covers, and they're trying to create a mesh network for the whole building. So I just took one and I opened it up and I replaced the XP radio with an ESP8266. So, and the program that it was running was just broadcasting an SSID, like a wireless network name, a password protected network. And the whole point was just to make my neighbor feel, make her friends know that she's not liked. And I know it's not a very like savory, I don't usually tell this story for like without telling the preface, but like my neighbor is very, very unpleasant to me. And like I said, I was doing this research about the Internet of Things. Called? It was just, so she has an Apple router and it was just like her first name's Wi-Fi network, the default, like the default Apple router name. And so I just made my network like her first name is not neighborly, so that like it would show up right next to hers in the in the list, so that when it's very elaborate, I know, and I had a lot of time to think about it. And trust me, I was using this research for work, so I was just playing around and trying to do stuff. But I also like knew that you could be sued for libel if you say, I like right now I live above a food store. If I made an SSID that said something disparaging about the food store that was like visible to people in the food store, like that's illegal, especially if it's not true, it's illegal. So I had to make sure it's, no, please don't say his name. I had to make sure it was true and not inflammatory. So she's not neighborly is the name of the SSAD. So hopefully when her neighbors show up and they look to get on her Wi-Fi, they see this other Wi-Fi network and they know that like she's not very neighborly, which is true. It's true. She's not very neighborly. It was about her off-leash dog. She kept letting her little dog off leash, and it was not fair to me and my bigger dog.
Huh. Interesting.
And she was mean about it. That's the short version
you handled
of that story.
That situation very well, I would say.
With only my best passive-aggressive technology tendencies. But that's the only project you've seen on my channel with an XP radio in it, and it involved me removing an XP radio from something in order to not use it. But Arduino is my coding language of choice.
And what is a teensy? Because I won one in an Instructable contest.
Same deal. It's a microcontroller that's capable of running Arduino code, but also capable of it's just a Berry VR, so you can just program it.
Yeah.
Is it better?
It's Arduino compatible. It's faster.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, the TC has a lot of processing power.
It's super tiny too, right? So I guess that's no. I'm thinking...
as the name implies.
It's just as big as a micro, so.
But it has more. It's faster. It's all about the microcontroller board that's on there, and then the Teensy folks, more advanced users like to use the Teensy. They can program it straight from the command line using AVRDude and circumvent the Arduino overhead. They consider it, but.
Okay, I guess one of the issues with this whole Arduino stuff is that it's all developed by electronics and programming experts. You wouldn't put somebody like me in charge of that, but I'm the one that's going to use it later.
Well, Arduino was designed by and for designers, so I disagree with what you're saying there a little bit. The Teensy for sure was developed by more advanced engineers, but the Arduino itself in 2005, born out of the Design Institute of Ivrea in Italy, was about how do we make a platform that designers and artists can more easily use to integrate electronics into their
it's
projects.
Definitely the easiest thing out there, but I still think it would be great, like Wi-Fi communication. I had it set up for my hydrofoil. I'm building a surfboard with a motor inside, and I want the remote control to communicate between two Arduinos. It's just to send a signal across, trigger the accelerator or not. And setting it up was far too complicated, at least for my knowledge at the time. So I had a friend do it for me.
There's all different scales, right? So that sound without knowing the specifics of the project, I would question whether it was the right tool for the job, because they're without being a beginner, Arduino is definitely the easiest electronics platform to dip your toe into, but it's not the easiest thing to build a remote control with. There are dumber circuits that only communicate high and low signals rather than a serial communication or wireless like Wi-Fi is way overkill for a lot of people too. So a lot of times you just want I just transmitted this one button press. Well, you can use a straight up RF remote that works just like a button on your Arduino versus like having to code for communication, serial communication across. So, but a lot of beginners don't know what exists. So hopefully places like the Instructables classes site help people because they can dig around in the basic electronics class and then hop over to the Arduino class and sort of like see what the differences are.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Instructables definitely helps out in a lot of projects. I use it every time when I want to build something. Like, how did other people make this before me?
Yeah, definitely helpful. And by the way, speaking of that I guess your latest project, the one with the hoods and the light up eyes, I thought that was very clever the way you coordinated the two suits with RF remote. There's a single remote. It was, I don't know, it was just so
Thanks, yeah.
You know, like you said, you don't always need a real. I think maybe some people's, probably mine, first instinct would be to, well, you know, how do I sync these both up with Wi-Fi and yada yada yada? But you can just use a single on-off remote like a key fob. I thought that was really. Anyway, just a good use of technology.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example of what I'm talking about, where it's like you want the two NeoPixel costume eyes that are connected to two different people to change at the same time. Well, if you use he's talking about like the garage door opener type RF module you can get that has it's like a fob, key fob with 4 buttons and like a little circuit board. The other component is a bare circuit board that receives the signal, and they're all on the same channel. So if you buy 2 of the circuit boards and 1 of the key fobs, then the key fob will send the signal to both of them simultaneously, and all it sends is a high signal that you can read with an Arduino, just like a push button. So that along with some code to some interrupt code is what allows the 2 wireless receivers to react to the one remote on that Arduino project.
Yeah, thought it was cool. You know, no need to overthink something like that. It's just, you know, just a remote. So got a couple of those.
The nice thing about the key fob is that it already has a housing, so no need to 3D print anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Easy way to replace the batteries.
Got a couple of those in my parts bin, so I guess probably need to break those out at some point. So
they're really fun and easy to use. I highly recommend if you have kids, you can do experiments with kids where you test out the range. You know, you build a breadboard for the receiver with some LEDs. Oh my gosh, not for your children. Jeez. And I don't recommend building wearables for pets because it's especially not for beginners, because you can't feel what your pet is experiencing. So if the battery overheats or whatever, it's an extra liability. If it's a human who can communicate, even a smallish child, it's safer than a pet who can't communicate at all.
You know, my I'm sure he's not the first person to do that, but one of my cousins said he actually put a shock collar on and tried it out, and he said it was not much fun. So
it's not that bad. No, I mean, it depends. I had one for my dog. I have a pit bull, and she at the park, when I first got her, she would jump on anybody who had one of these like ball launching sticks. It's kind of like an ice cream scoop on a long handle. Yeah. And so you can use it to pick up the ball without crouching, and you can also use it to like launch the ball really far. And you also product. Like don't have to touch the ball it's a great product. But we didn't have one. We just see people at the park, and my dog is off leash at the park running around, and she gets so excited that she would jump on people who had this toy because she loved balls and she'd get really excited. So we got her a shock collar to stop her from jumping on randos at the park. And you better believe I tried it before I'm going to put that thing on my dog.
Oh, so
it had it was completely adjustable though, the amount of shock. So I didn't try it on very high, and
sure
was pretty timid about using it at first, but my dog's nerve endings, she's pretty hard to offend both physically and mentally, so nice. It works. She doesn't need it anymore. She doesn't jump on anybody at the park anymore.
That's good. So she I was going to say we have a we don't tell our neighbors, but our dog I think is part, I don't know, so is it a full pit bull or is it a little mix? Or
I mean, she's a rescue, so we don't know, but she doesn't look like she's mixed with anything else.
Okay. It's I feel like our dog, she looks like a lab or something, but you know, we know that her mom was a pit bull. We don't tell our neighbors that, but it's like, you know, people get like, I don't know, weird about those dogs for some reason. I guess
They have a bad reputation, but it's undeserved as far as like human injuries are concerned. They were bred to be dogfighting dogs, right? So they have dog on dog aggression more than other dogs, but they not towards humans. So the people often confuse them with the same kind of human aggression you might get from a human protection dog, like a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd or a Rhodesian Ridgeback or something. Right. Some dogs that were bred for to protect humans against other humans, but pit bulls were bred to be like coached in the dogfighting ring by humans. So you better believe they're not going to breed fighting dogs who bite their owners. And you really have to, I think you have to train them pretty hard to get them to, or abuse them to get them to naturally be mean to people. Right. So I'm all about proselytizing the actual, like what they actually deserve a bad rap for, which is dog on dog, and what they don't deserve a bad rap for, which is dog on human.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if I ever see one, they always seem like really sweet dogs, if they're really, if they're well trained, and it's, ours is really sweet too. But now that you mention it, she's a little bit more friendly to humans than she is to dogs. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, dogs are pack animals, right? So if you breed out their instincts to be nice to their other pack members, like what are they going to do? Then they look at humans as their pack members more than they look at other dogs as their pack members. So it can be more challenging for them to form meaningful relationships with other dogs. And their body language certainly doesn't help them. Like my dog, her ears stand up and she kind of stares when she's excited, and it doesn't mean that she's going to be aggressive, but the other dogs certainly interpret it that way, and it makes the situation more tense, and anything that escalates the situation is not so great. So she doesn't mean anything by it necessarily, but there's just challenges in owning any different type of dog. And my pit bull is super sweet. Any pit bull I've ever met has been very sweet to humans and exceedingly loving. And but they are in the city there, or anywhere I imagine they're just a little bit more challenging than having like a little fluffy dog. But
yeah, sure,
I love her anyway.
Well, the good thing is ours is a mutt, so she looks like, I mean, she looks like a lab, but it's like we're pretty sure she's not quite a lab. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, my dog, when I put a sweater on her, like everybody's reaction is much, much different. She gets touched a lot more by strangers walking on the street when she's wearing her cute sweater that I knit for her. I think it's just like disarming, right? It's like, oh, like someone loves you enough to make you a sweater or buy you a sweater. In this case, I made the sweater. But, and it also covers up her big muscly chest, right? So if all you can see is her cute ears and her cute sweater, then it's like obviously largely optics related. It's not even related to her behavior. So she doesn't mind. When she's outside, she just wants to sniff. She doesn't even really care about random people trying to touch her.
Yeah.
But it's funny how much different the reaction is from your average like parent walking with child, for instance, when the dog's wearing a sweater versus not. But my dog, because she's kind of tough looking, she's helped me make friends with people in my neighborhood I never would have talked to otherwise. People who I might have been afraid of, who look kind of thuggish maybe, who I would be afraid to pass by at nighttime if I didn't have my dog with me. Instead, they say things like, oh, my cousin has a dog that looks just like your dog. How old is she? Like, what's her favorite trick? And now we're talking about my dog, and now I'm no longer afraid of this person, and the next time I see him, we're buddies. So it's really quite to have a pit bull in New York City is quite a cross-cultural experience and a good one.
Nice. Now, you mentioned you knitted a sweater for him. Now, there was another project I thought was really cool that you actually knitted a privacy sweater? Seemed like that one got a lot of attention. That was a long time ago.
It's my most internet famous project. Yeah, it's a little over a decade old at this point. My laptop compu body sock. It's one of my first instructables, which is cool. I was in Arizona in grad school, and I was working in an air conditioned cubicle office space, and my fingers were cold. It was like hot outside because it was in Arizona, but it was like over air conditioned inside. So I made this like little, it was supposed to be a keyboard cozy. And if you look at the project page, you'll see like photos of it in its early stages. It only covers the keyboard. And then like most knitters could corroborate my story, once you start, you have a hard time stopping. Knitting is really addictive and fun. So I knit the cozy over the keyboard, and then I kind of just kept knitting, and it envelops the face and the screen of the computer together. And I think a lot of people like it because they see, I mean, it was made as like it's not it's not a real thing, right? It's not a thing you actually use. It's a thing I took photos of, and it's more like a sculpture. And I've exhibited as sculpture in the past, where I like create put it on a mannequin in an art exhibit, right? It's not, it overheats your computer right away. It's hard to see what's going on. Your face gets really hot because your breath kind of builds up inside. And the reason I think a lot of people think it's funny is because of it like highlights that attention space where you're not paying attention, or it creates a private space where previously you might have been in a public space. And a lot of people make a joke about porn, like you could watch porn on that. And like any true great art piece, it's in the eye of the beholder, right? So I obviously but I was not thinking of that when I created it. But the fact that other people see so many funny things in it is, I think, what puts it squarely in the realm of art and sculpture. And the fact that people do occasionally ask me if they can commission one as a gag gift, like, doesn't deter me from calling it art and sculpture. Instead of writing them back and saying, it's art, why? Like, I just ignore them instead. They don't get it, or maybe they do.
I bet they won't give you a lot of money for it either.
Do you remember this site called Regretsy? It was a blog about like regretful things this one person would find on Etsy.
Right.
It was a really, really good blog, and I think the woman who made it then published a book and then moved on with her life. So it's not up anymore. But it used to be like, oh my gosh, if my stuff ever got featured on Regretsy, that would be like making it in a certain sort of kitsch way, right? And Etsy used to have this feature called, I don't remember what it was called. It was where you could put up a proposal for something. Like, I want somebody to embroider my wedding napkins. I want them to look like, here are my inspiration images. And then people could come and like bid on the project. And like bid on custom orders. So people, it would connect like desires for custom orders and people who would want to do those custom orders, so like a marketplace. And this feature doesn't exist anymore, but somebody put up a photo of my laptop CompuBody sock and was like, I want somebody to make me one of these for $40. And so, yeah, right, I know.
Like, add another zero to that, please.
Well, a couple more zeros. And I mean, if we're talking about time, what happened is then that request post got put on Regretsy. Like, who would request such a silly object to be custom made for them? And I was like, yes, I've made it. My work is on Regretsy. But it's definitely my most internet famous project to date. And it's so much, even so that like when I was working at Make magazine, in its like second or third round of the images being shared, the editor of the magazine at the time, Mark Frauenfelder, who was, like all of our bosses essentially, I was writing for the Make and Craft blogs, and he sent me an email with a link to like the photo of my sweater and was like, this would be great for the craft blog. And I'm like, Mark, I made that and I blogged it when I made it like 2 years ago. Here's the link. And he's like, oh, no wonder why I thought you would like it so much. So that's definitely happened, come around a couple times. But it's really fun to have any project like that, because then a lot more, you learn more about like the cycles of media on the internet than I ever wanted to. So.
Well,
one guy asked me a few weeks ago on one of my YouTube videos, I made like a juice press out of a 8-ton jack and some plywood and steel rods, and the video is called like a $40 juice press because that's what I paid for the materials. And now this guy said to me, you said it costs $40 in materials? I'm completely willing to buy a fully made one from you for $80. And I said, like, take a guess how much time this takes me. And I don't know, maybe a couple of days. But you know how it works, right? So yeah, he even by his estimate, he valued my time at $5 an hour.
Oh, well, that's
people don't think about it that way, though. They don't think about it.
That's better than many proposals I've gotten. That's
why I love making videos, though, because if I can make a video that a couple thousand people will watch, then I feel like the time I spend on it is more valuable than if I were spending time making a custom commission for one person. Yeah,
true. Yeah, I made like a little kayak cart for a friend of mine, and she just paid for the materials, maybe 20 or 30 euros. But the video made me probably 20 euros as well. So at the end, it was worth building it myself. but it
There
wouldn't
you
have been
go.
worth it. I just build it for her.
Yeah, right. If you without the media around it, right? So I will often also like engage in a collaboration with a friend where like the project itself, if I were to do it and not publish it, would not be like worth my time more than the favor I'm willing to do the friend. But I'm willing to, or I'm able to like up the ante on the favors I'm willing to do for friends if I can also create a tutorial about it, because then it becomes work. Like not only am I privileged to work for a company that values my content creation as part of my job, but also like the satisfaction and the affiliate links, right? If I can make like I made a 3D printer filament dry box. All it is a gasketed plastic container and some Teflon tubing and some 3D printed parts, but consistently or some O-rings. Consistently, those 3 items are like returning the investment through the affiliate links of people building that project. So I also look at that in terms of the well-rounded content. Like I don't want to make just content that is capable of generating income. That's not my job, and that's not my like goal in life. But if one project out of 15 can generate enough income to pay for my other project supplies, then it's sort of it's a wash, right? Like where my YouTube channel can sort of make itself not an expensive hobby.
Yeah, I entirely agree with that. And I guess that's a great way. Yeah, I guess if you included your time though, I guess it's always in the back of my head. It's like, well, it's a lot of fun. It's paying for my hobbies, but then if I include my time, I'm getting paid, 75 cents an hour or something like that. That's always my.
But we also learn doing it, so we get a lot of experience.
It's very true. So.
Yeah, I tend not to I look at statistics when they will be encouraging, not when they'll be depressing. So like I try not to do that math ever.
I hear a lot of people suggesting like, yeah, check out your YouTube analytics and that tells you what you need to do. And they don't tell me anything.
Wait.
Like, you know what my YouTube's analytics tell me? It's so depressing. Like I try to keep track of my female to male audience ratio, and I know it's only reporting on people who are logged in, but like and steadily they say, what's that saying? Like if you measure it, it will improve. So I figure if I look at my gender balance of my viewers, hopefully I can do something to continue towards a balance, right? But I think it's just true that the content I create is segmented, and like I look at my overall percentage and it might like improve from month to month, but then I'll make like a collection in the analytics of just my last 10 videos and it'll be all 100% male viewers. And and then I figure like, well, where are the female viewers coming from? It's one popular beaded bracelet video that I have that's doing really, really well in suggested, recommended. It's showing up in the sidebar a lot. And it's getting recommended and it's showing up in search. And it's true. It's the canonical video about how to make this particular type of beaded wrap bracelet that is from my jewelry class at Instructables. And it's also, and the reason I picked it to do is because it's a popular method, and I thought I saw an opportunity to make like the best video about this bracelet, and it worked well. 99%, 95% of the viewers on that video are female, and that's where like when you look at my overall statistics for the last year's worth of content or whatever, yeah, sure, maybe it looks like up to 20% of my viewers are female, but I think it's just that up to 20% of my viewers are watching that video only.
Sorry.
It just says do more jewelry, I guess, if I want more female viewers. It's true that the analytics don't tell the whole story. You have to interpret them properly.
Most of my, a very good percentage of my viewers come from a video about a terrible video I did about how to take apart a laser pointer. So that's, I don't know what that says. I guess
maybe that was just the best quality.
It was, it might be the best quality out there, but that's actually kind of surprising. So,
it's a fun thing to do when you have a project idea, is go and see what videos are there. And I become very encouraged if I can't find an under 7-minute long, concise, well-filmed video about the topic. I'm like, oh yeah, then I'm definitely doing it because I have an opportunity to fill that thing that people want to click on first when they look for that topic.
I had videos that I spent weeks or months on building the project and then editing it to perfection as good as I could, to my perfectionist standard, and that gets maybe 2,000 clicks, and then I upload a video that I took in 30 seconds without even a single cut in it, just something I do in the workshop, and I upload that to Reddit. I get 3 times that traffic in a single day instead of over a few weeks. So it is really weird what people watch and what people don't watch.
Yeah, it's definitely not correlated to the amount of effort you put into it. It's about that content space, like in terms of search, like what are people, if they're searching for the beaded wrap bracelet and there's no clear like great one there, then yours can become that great one. So maybe your 30-second clip was like exactly what people wanted to see, where that other thing was just like, it's not what people are looking for right now. Or there could be a version of it that seems more appealing upon search.
Yeah, that's true. I think too, like you have to I feel like you have to find a balance between, are you making this because it's something you find interesting, or are you making this because this is what people want to see? And I think that's always something, maybe I struggle with a little bit. I don't know about.
It has to be both. Like you can't, or just the former. You can't create good. I mean, you could disagree with me. This might be an inflammatory opinion. I believe that you can't create your best content if you're making it only because it's the thing you think people want to see. If it's not also the thing you're excited to make, then it's going to turn out not very well. And if you can create things that are things that you want to create every single time, and sometimes they happen to be things other people want to see, then that's that balance I'm talking about, where you can continue to make whatever you want to create. And then hopefully that content that is super, super appealing to others can help improve the value of all of your content so that it's all welcome. Like my channel wouldn't be my channel if I only made the types of videos that get the most views.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree with that. Actually, one of my worst performing videos, I tried to make something that was, had some mass appeal or whatever, and it just did terribly. So I guess it's just got to do something you find interesting.
You have to do something you find interesting, and then even if it's regardless of the amount, like the size of the production, so whether it's a multi-day production with multi-cameras or it's a 30-second clip you filmed with your cell phone, you have to publish with the idea that anything you make could be your most popular thing. So even if it's a 30-second video, you have to have enough follow through to realize that, and not just throw anything away, like allow anything to become your best advocate. So if you have a 30-second clip, like make sure your tags and descriptions and not annotations, what are they called now? Cards are like all in line, so that if people do pick up something does get popular on Reddit, the people who are viewing it can then like have tendrils to get into your other content, or otherwise like preserve that audience value for you.
Yeah, I noticed that when you made this video about moving into a new apartment in New York, or looking for a new apartment, I thought like that's really brave that you diverted from your regular content of making stuff to just finding a place in New York.
There's a lot of making hacks in my moving tips video involving like how to organize your boxes so that the movers put everything in the right place, or like how to have like a really how to have your moving day go really smoothly, that I feel like is related to being a maker and having those organizational skills about like the way the process breaks down. But my tagline is I make videos about technology, crafts, and my life in New York City. And although I wish I made more videos about my life in New York City, that is squarely within my my content brand's promise, but I realize that I don't make as many over the top of your head New York City videos. But like if you look at my how to install LEDs under my Bluetooth controlled LEDs under my scooter, that's also a life in New York City video. Although it is also technology and it is also crafts.
Well, that's cool. Sounds like.
So from my perspective, that one was right on brand, but I wish I could make more videos. Like I really would like to make a video about owning a pit bull in New York, but it'll be a big production. So it hasn't quite gotten done yet. Sounds
like you put more thought into this than maybe Max or I have, or at least I have.
Oh yeah.
So
I live it all day long. That's how it should be. Yeah.
Oh, and before we forget, I guess. Well, should we? I guess I should call out our sponsors. Does that sound good, Max?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay, so first of all, our Patreons, we're gonna call out our top 5 Patreons, and right now we've got 3, so we're calling them all out. Give them a good shout out. Old School DIY at GFC62. That's parentheses, I guess, and then Positive Waves, and of course, Stephen Booker, the Choco Taco himself. So I guess not that he's the Choco Taco. That's his icon on Twitter. So just to be clear. So
and he's our very first Patreon.
Our very first Patreon. So that's cool. And we appreciate
He's got that for a long time,
Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate all that. And if anybody else wants to jump on the bandwagon, we'd of course appreciate that too. So,
and we just need a few more Patreons to cover our costs. So
yeah,
that's a good goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that being said,
thank you very much.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about where we can find all of us, or do we have anything else you want to talk about today, Becky?
No, I think we covered some fun ground. I can give people a wrap up around where they can find my stuff, though.
Yeah,
if you want.
Sure.
Please.
Where can we find you?
Well, I'm all over the place. You just search for Becky Stern, you'll find me. Sorry, other Becky Sterns on the internet. But on my YouTube channel, on my Instructables page, on Instagram or Twitter, and I put out content a couple times a month, and you can always find out what I'm working on my website too, beckystern.com.
beckystern.com. Okay. What about you,
Well,
Max?
well.
Where can we find you?
Mostly on my YouTube channel, Max Maker with the green logo. I think you find me there. And on Instagram, I post some pictures around the workshop and from my daily life as well. And yeah, on Twitter, I don't really use Twitter. I don't find it appealing. How about you, Jeremy?
Well, I do actually use Twitter quite a bit. I'm at Jeremy S. Cook there because I guess other Jeremy Cooks in the world, I don't want to step on their toes too much.
But you're Jeremy S.
Oh, you're
Cook.
too kind.
Yeah.
You're too kind. You didn't take it from them.
Well, when I first started, whatever, I realized there was a news anchor in Britain called Jeremy Cook, and I was like, well, I probably can't compete with that guy. So anyway, I'm Jeremy.
You sure can. When I was in high school, I was like, that's Becky Stern, landscape photographer. I'm coming for you.
All right. Well,
sorry if she's listening. Actually, I'm sure she's very nice.
She might be. Well, anyway, let's get. If you ever need landscape photography, you know where to turn. That's also the other Becky Stern.
Becky Stern, yeah. That knitting lady.
But yeah, as for myself, if you search for Jeremy S. Cook on Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever that's what I use. But anyway, and then on YouTube, of course, I'm Jeremy S. Cook there too. Jeremy S. Cook on YouTube as well. So I'm not Jeremy S. Cook 2 or anything. That'd be totally ridiculous.
Yeah, you can write him an email at complaints@jeremyscook.com.
Yeah, or hi@jeremyscook.com or info, because Max decided...
These are actual mail addresses.
Yeah, these are... I'm not sure I have complaints.
Well, but aren't you the default on your own domain, so you don't get... It used to be, this isn't the case anymore, but it used to be I'd get anybody wrote anything to beckystern.com, like any email address at beckystern.com, I would get the email.
Really?
That's not the case anymore.
I wish it was.
Wow.
That'd be...
But that's the way most email domain you can have it work
Can you
that
set
way.
it up that way? Because I would really like that. Not that...
When I managed my own domain, yeah. I had it
I
set
might
up
have
that
to
way.
talk to...
Send me an email at whatever@jeremyscook.com.
This is old. This is a long time ago.
I hate you at Jeremy S. Cook.
Yeah.
Hate.
Well, that
not
way
an address.
ideally it would account for typos that way, and it's like a sysadmin thing to do. It's like, I'm getting all the emails so that in case something needs to be looked up, it's there.
Well, you really know a lot, from knitting to Arduino to web hosting to probably.
I'm just your regular, well-rounded nerd. Don't ask me anything about Dungeons and Dragons or Star Wars, though.
Yeah, I do like Star Wars.
We're not the
so much Dungeons
tested
and Dragons.
podcast.
What's that?
We're not the tested
Not
podcast.
the tested podcast.
Yeah, we are not that. We're not quite that popular yet. Probably never.
They always have Adam Savage, freak out about cosplay. And I know he's really into it, but I really don't think that Norm is into it. But he still acts like he is.
Oh, Norm. Be nice to Norm. He's very
Did you
kind.
ever meet him in real life?
Yeah.
Oh. We had his friend, Will Smith. We had him on a show once. That was good.
Oh, yeah. Norm's former coworker. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I like him. I listen to the podcast, of course.
Yeah, they're both really nice.
But I don't believe him when he says he likes cosplay too. Yeah,
I don't believe him when he says he likes drones, but that doesn't mean he does. I think he has an affect.
Oh,
we should believe him. We should believe him whenever he says.
He's interested in technology.
He's thought
yeah, a lot of cosplay has technology.
He's thought deeply about his brand, just like Becky has, right?
Yeah. It's better. I mean, and it is true from a personal brand perspective. It's better to be pro things than it is to be anti things.
That's true. I don't know if it's true or not. I'll have to take.
Yeah.
I assume that's right.
From a maker perspective, because we're all about positivity and actually generating cool stuff. Yeah. I'm not talking about. If I'm an animal rights activist, I'm going to be anti.
And you should be pro the things that your boss likes, like Adam Savage.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, if my boss wants to talk to me about football, I talk about football.
That's how I feel about cosplay. Like, I appreciate watching other people make cosplay, but as the former director of wearable electronics, cosplay was not my main draw, but it's an important part of wearable electronics, creating replica weapons that only previously existed in CG, like actually manifests the fantastical, and that's a very valuable learning tool. But it's not what I'm personally drawn to because of the fandom aspect of it. Like, I'm not going to make the Halo energy sword because I don't play Halo, and even if I did and wanted to make a prop weapon, I would have more fun designing my own fantastical prop weapon than I would like meticulously replicating some other art that someone made. But that's just my particular style. Like, I'm not a good what do they call it? I'm not a good geek in terms of fandoms and appreciating other people's artwork as much as some of those people do. So I kind of faked it about cosplay a little bit too in my enthusiasm. So me and Norm, solidarity on the cosplay is pretty okay camp.
Yeah.
I bought a prop. It's a Pollos Hermanos t-shirt from Breaking Bad.
That show was pretty great.
I never watched Breaking Bad, but I do speak Spanish, so I gather that that's a chicken joint.
How come you never watched it yet?
I just couldn't get into it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's a great show, in my opinion. But
you watched...
I heard it's great.
You watched it twice, right? All the way through.
Oh, a few times now.
Did you ever watch the Spanish language remake of it? I've heard that's not so good.
There's a Spanish language one?
Yeah, I guess it was made... I don't know. I asked... anyway, I just randomly... well, this another story. But anyway, there's a Spanish language remake of Breaking Bad. It's called, it's something... And the title is something Spanish. I can't remember. It's not Breaking Bad exactly. It's like...
Metastasis?
Metastasis.
I'm just looking at it now. It looks like a joke.
Yeah, I've heard it's not so good. Hey, Becky, since you speak Spanish, what is metastasis? Is that?
I don't know. I can't see what word you're looking at.
That's a good point.
Also, my vocabulary.
Metastasis.
It's one of those audio podcasts, I guess.
Oh, it's like a metastasis. Isn't that what butterflies do before they become butterflies?
Oh,
first they're
so maybe it implies like a chemical reaction.
First they're caterpillars and then they're butterflies. So it's morphing from one state to the other, I think.
So
metamorphosis is that word?
Exactly.
Okay.
Metamorphosis must be metastasis. That's Breaking Bad.
Well, and like if a tumor metastasizes, what does that mean?
I don't know. This is my second language too.
I'm assuming it's
It means it gets worse.
Oh, which makes sense because the guy has cancer. The spoiler, I guess, for. I don't think that's
okay. Well, I don't need to watch it now.
You should really look up metastases and just look at the artwork of Walt and Jesse. It really looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch or something like that.
So I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, don't worry. I think it's a good point to end the show. Thank you very much for being our guest, Becky. It was really fun learning a bit more about Arduinos and RSPs 82 and so on.
Okay. That is really funny.
ESP8266. Pleasure to have me. Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Very good. Right. Thanks for coming on, Becky.
Bye-bye.